All right, guys, it is a wild day on the Endless Hustle today as I have one of the best entrepreneurs in sports history, the man who built the UFC into the behemoth that it is, a pretty genius guy, in my opinion, Mr. Dana White. Dana, excited to have you on the show, man.
I appreciate it.
Dude, to see what you've done with the UFC and now the Ultimate Fighter is coming back. First of all, congrats on that. How cool is it to bring that franchise back after 2 years?
Yeah, I'm happy. You know, it's one of those things that I love the Ultimate Fighter. We wouldn't be where we are today without the Ultimate Fighter. Season one catapulted this thing, you know, the brand, the sport, and everything to another level. So, I think the show will always be relevant. We go out and we find, the best talent that's unsigned. We bring them in, we put them in the pressure cooker that is the Ultimate Fighter, and we see who wins. I just don't think that there's ever going to be a time where this show isn't relevant.
It's incredible because I had Kamaru Usman on a couple weeks ago, and he's obviously the perfect example of winning that show to now becoming the baddest man on the planet. That's what I love about the Ultimate Fighter. It's not just some bullshit feeder system that goes nowhere. People who come out of this show actually become stars for you.
Yeah, and world champions, more importantly. Usman, Rose Namajunas, Robert Whittaker, Michael Bisping, Forrest Griffin, Dillashaw, Sarah, Esparza, Tony Ferguson, Rashad Evans. I mean, the list goes on and on. 6 Hall of Famers have come off the show. It creates and builds real talent. And like you said, Kamaru Usman came off, and look how talented this kid is now. And I truly believe that right now, he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world.
By the way, also incredibly articulate and thoughtful, which blew my mind. I've had a bunch of your fighters on the show. The thing that always strikes me with these guys is, even though they're absolute brutality masters, so many of these guys are so thoughtful and so intelligent.
It's true.
Dealing with them from the business angle, talk to me about that, because it's a whole new different type of athlete we're seeing these days.
It's true. And it's one of the things that was super appealing to us in the beginning when we got into the sport. All of these guys have a different story, a different background. Most of them graduated from college, and they have great stories. Boxing had the same old story. I came from the mean streets of such and such, and if it wasn't for boxing, I'd be dead or in jail. I mean, that was literally every guy's story. These guys have incredible stories.
Dana, I want to take you back to the beginning of the UFC, because it's easy to see what you built this thing into, but in the very beginning, this thing could have gone completely to shit. How did you know, and when did you know that you had something that could be built into what has become now a major sport?
We felt it in the very beginning. We felt that this sport, like I said, when we started to train in this and then started to meet some of the athletes, we believed that this thing could be big. The question is always about timing. Was the timing right? And it ends up the timing was literally perfect, because as we started to go like this, boxing started to go like this. And we, over the last 20 years, we sort of switched places.
When you start seeing that success, obviously, we just saw, everything would happen with Endeavor, but when you start seeing that success, was there a moment for you where you could visualize what it's become today? Because I don't know that you probably even imagined in the very beginning that it would become what it is today.
Well, if you look at interviews of me, 15 years ago, I say that this is going to be the biggest sport in the world. And I believe that this thing would work everywhere. When you think about the NFL, right? The NFL is massive in the United States. There's nothing bigger. And then you think about these other places. Soccer is big in other countries. Cricket is big in some places. Rugby. None of that's, NFL doesn't work over there, and those sports don't work over here. The one thing that works everywhere is fighting. And if you think about the most famous athletes that have ever walked the face of the earth, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, those guys are known everywhere. Bruce Lee died in the early 70s. Kids still know who he is today, because as human beings, we are fascinated by who the toughest guy in the world is.
That's one of the things, by the way, I respect so much about you. I interview athletes, actors. Everybody's got to be a brand, right? Like, you can't say, especially with cancel culture today, you cannot say one off-kilt word. You have always unabashedly been yourself. When was the decision made that, like, fuck it, I'm just going to let it ride. I'm going to be me. I'm going to have fun. Like, what? There had to have been a moment where you're like, fuck it all. I'm just going to be me.
I don't know. I don't know how that happened or what happened. It's like all this stuff that's, whether it's the media, the internet, or whatever, all the stuff that's talked, I literally don't give a shit about any of that. I could care less what anybody says, what anybody thinks. I just focus on my own little world over here, my people that work for me, my fighters, this sport, this brand, and I just keep plugging forward. And I really don't care what anybody else thinks. It's like when we went through COVID. I mean, you want to talk about an unpopular decision? Going through COVID had to be my most unpopular decision of all time. I didn't lay off one employee. We didn't cut anybody's salaries. All of my fighters, all their contracts were honored through 2020, and it was the biggest year in the company's history. And it launched us into 2021 just absolutely kicking ass.
Yeah, I don't want it to seem like I'm kissing your ass too much, but again, seeing what you did with Fight Island and the visionary move with that. And by the way, you were getting the shit kicked out of you half the time for that. Exactly. People are dying around, and Dana White's meanwhile throwing fights in, Abu Dhabi. So when you start doing that, listen, you've never cared about the pressure coming from the outside, but were there ever moments where you're thinking this could be not the right move at the moment?
Yeah. So probably for like one day. So every day I would come in here and we would get something done and set up. This isn't even an exaggeration. This is the truth. By the time I would drive home, I live 15, 20 minutes from here. My lawyer would call me and say, everything fucking blew up while you were driving home. It's all fell apart. I'm like, this is crazy. And I was sitting out in my backyard, sitting there, and for like 3.5 seconds, I was like, am I fucking wrong here? Is this the wrong idea? And I was like, no, it's absolutely not the wrong idea. We're going to go. And that was it. That was literally the only doubt I had through the whole thing. I could never wrap my head around hiding in my house for 1.5 years. That just doesn't make sense to me. We're all going to just let our businesses die. We're going to lay off our employees. All these people, there's some people in this building that have been with me for like 20 years or close to it. Fuck you. Good luck to you. You know what I mean? Get some unemployment. I mean, that's not me. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna fight through this. We're gonna do it as safely as we possibly can. And no, I'm not gonna fucking lay any of you people off. I mean, that's my job is to figure that kind of shit out.
And by the way, this is why it was so genius. I remember, so I'm from Philly originally, but I live in New York. Right now I'm in Nashville just visiting friends. Not that you give a shit either way, but I was in Philly. And it was like a random Thursday or Friday night. And there's no sports to watch. I'm losing my mind. Flipping through ESPN and UFC comes on. I've been a longtime fan. But that being said, if I wasn't a fan, you were the only game in town. And I started thinking to myself, how many new fans did UFC make just doing what you did? What was the feedback as that was happening? Were you discovering that throughout the process? Like people were discovering UFC for the first time?
It was massive. Yeah, I mean, it was massive for us. The growth in our social media, ratings, pay-per-view buys. So I lost $110 million at the gate in 2020. But every fight that we did almost 1 million pay-per-view buys. So in all these other areas where we were losing money, we gained it back, somewhere else.
You also sold out every event since bringing fans, and you did it within minutes. When you make that decision to start bringing people back into the arenas, was that just an automatic yes, or did you have to jump through every hoop on the planet?
Yeah, it was definitely not an automatic yes. I said, I'm not coming back at 25, 30, 50%. When we can go 100%, I'm coming back. So, I had to talk to the Floridas and the Texases and the gangster of all gangsters, man. Florida was the one to get it done first. Jacksonville took us out there and let us do events safely during the pandemic. when nothing else was going on. And so we went back to Jacksonville. I told Jacksonville, I'll be back here with a real one that you'll feel, the impact of the UFC coming when things get back to normal. So we went back and repaid them.
When you see the energy, because we all took this shit for granted, let's be honest, until the world was shut down. I mean, I was in a club in Nashville last night and I'm like, I can't believe I'm living normally again. And you forget how special that is. When you finally get to see people in those arenas, what was that energy like? And did you have like a moment of catharsis that you're able to bring something like this to make people happy at a time when we were dealing with such crazy shit?
So the lead up to Jacksonville, I was like so excited for 2 weeks leading up to that event. And then obviously the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday, as we were getting closer to it, it was a very cool feeling. And then that night when we were in there, the fans in Jacksonville were off the charts. Awesome. The fans in Houston were awesome. On June 12th, we go to a sold out Arizona arena, and it's going to be awesome. And then July 10th, we're back in Vegas with McGregor versus Poirier, sold out. And you just, it's like you said, when you've been sitting in your house for a year and now you're in a Nashville club, there's just an energy and a buzz and a feeling that you get. It's exactly what, I mean, every time, I don't know when this is going to wear off and it'll be normal to me again, but right now I'm really, really, really fucking loving it.
I want to talk to you about McGregor because I heard you on Bill Simmons's show and you talked about how he is and I've talked to a bunch of your fighters. Everyone says the same thing. He's the greatest marketer in the history of MMA. It's not even close.
Yep.
At what moment in his career did you realize that McGregor was going to be McGregor and that he could become essentially the Hulk Hogan of your sport?
I went to dinner when we first signed him. He flew out here to Vegas and he and I went to dinner. And it was my first real interaction with him. When I left that dinner, I called my partner, Lorenzo, and I said, let me tell you what, I don't know if this kid can fight or not, but if he can even throw a punch, he's going to be a massive superstar. I knew it that night when I was with him. His personality, the energy around this kid, I'd never met anybody like him. The closest thing to it was Ronda. So
yeah, she was another phenomenon. I mean, she was another phenomenon. When did you know with her? When did you know that spark was there with her?
I sat down and had a 45-minute meeting with her, and I was adamantly opposed to women fighting in the UFC. Halfway through the meeting, I started talking to myself going, holy shit, I think I'm going to do this. She's the one. She's the one we could launch this whole women's thing with.
Do they know, Dana, when you're sitting there with him? So Conor, obviously, I don't want to say some of it's shtick, but he knows he plays it up when he needs to play it up, and he becomes, Superman Conor McGregor. Are they laying out to you in those first couple meetings the strategic vision of what they're going to build and how they're going to become what they're going to become? Or do you think it's more of an organic process for them?
Not really. And you'd be surprised how much Conor McGregor really is Conor McGregor. When I first met him, I'd be around. I was around him for 3 or 4 times in a row, and I asked at the time his girlfriend D. I said, "Is he always like this?" And she's like, "Oh, Dana, sometimes he jumps up at 3 a.m. in his underwear and starts shadow boxing and running around the room." Conor McGregor is, pretty much what you see is what you get. Ronda is more. The one thing that I see with a lot of these guys and girls that are very successful like that, they always talk about manifesting, that they're manifesting their future and what's going to happen. It's almost like when you plan it out in your head and they have this roadmap to how they want to do it, and they literally do it. And it's pretty fascinating. But the key to this whole thing is you can have all the personality, looks, whatever it is, you actually have to go out and win fights.
Was there a guy or girl that you thought was going to be either Conor or Ronda, but didn't pan out and ended up, for lack of a better word, being a first-round bust for you?
Yeah, I think the last girl that I said I thought could be the next Ronda was Rose Namajunas when she was on The Ultimate Fighter. And obviously, her and Ronda are very different personalities. But Rose has absolutely positively become a world champion and a huge star. So, she's not necessarily Ronda, but she's Rose. and there will never be another Conor McGregor, but there will be a somebody else.
As a business owner, I know, listen, you're going to give me the answer, which is, hey, all I care about is good fights and entertaining the fans. I get it, because that's what's going to put people in the seats. But do you find yourself from an emotional level, knowing what someone like Conor has given to the sport, or before him, the Chuck Liddells and the Titos, do you find yourself from an emotional fan level becoming attached to these guys and girls and wanting to see them internally cheering for them because you know how much they've contributed to building something that you've thrown your heart and soul into?
100%. And when you're as close to this sport as I am, the other thing that becomes a problem is you start to meet some of these people and get to know them and care about them and like them. And then two of them fight each other. And you don't want to see either of them lose or anything bad happen to either one of them. There's sometimes, you got these two kids that you really care about, and they'll go out and beat the shit out of each other. And there's been some nights I'm like, what do I do for a living? Holy shit, this is fucking crazy, because you care about these kids. But yeah, it happens. And the people who have helped build the sport and build the brand, yeah, you root for them and you want good things for them. Like Conor, guy's made a shitload of money. He was just the number one athlete on the Forbes list this year. All kinds of good moves that he's made outside of the octagon and made a lot of money. So yeah, you root for him.
I want to switch gears for a second because they just announced this incredible match with Tom Brady, Phil Mickelson versus Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers. And it's been like the talk of the town. So it got me thinking, if you were to actually play some kind of dream golf match or have some kind of dream golf experience, who would Dana White want to choose as a partner to spend that day playing golf with? And what would you do?
Well, let me tell you this. If they did put together that dream match and they were looking for partners, Dana White is not a guy you want to call, okay? Anybody but me. Hate golf, can't play golf, want nothing to do with golf. So I would be the last guy on earth you would want to call to be your dream team golf, whatever it is.
Oh my God. Now I want to see you try to hit a golf club, Dana. That would be a viral video. What do you think about, by the way, Brady's been trolling these guys. What do you think about all the online trolling that's going on now with sports?
Yeah, I love it. Brady, a lot of people don't realize, but Brady is a savage, man. Brady, obviously he's won a lot of things, but he's kind of quiet, and he usually does everything that he does is classy. He'll say nice things about the other people who do this, but deep down inside in his soul, that dude is a killer. He's an absolute killer. And no matter what you're competing at, he is showing up there to try to destroy you.
By the way, he's a UFC fan too.
Yeah. He was just at the fight in Jacksonville.
I know, that was awesome. How does that happen, by the way? So do the reps reach out? Is Brady texting you personally? You've gotten so many celebrities on board. It's mind-blowing. How are these connections built? Yeah,
Brady and I talk, at least once a week. We've been friends for a while, and I'm a huge, massive Brady fan, and a Patriots fan, and now a Bucks fan. So, the celebrity thing has been a fun part of it. A lot of these celebrities become absolutely addicted to the sport. A lot of these guys train in jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or whatever it is. And, Halle Berry. I mean, Halle Berry's got to be the last person on earth you would expect to be a huge UFC fan. She is obsessed with UFC. Her and Valentina Shevchenko have become super close. I think they talk all the time, and Halle will hit me up the day of Shevchenko's fight, telling me how nervous she is, whatever. Last time when Shevchenko won, I FaceTimed Halle and brought it back to her in the medical tents. So yeah, it's fun.
Listen, it's one thing to be, whether you're 100-something millionaire or billionaire at this point, but you've also become famous. You are a celebrity. Do you ever take a step back and think, Halle Berry is texting me, I'm talking to the GOAT Brady once a week? Like, does it ever compute for you that this has become your life just from a celebrity standpoint?
I would say in the beginning, more so in the beginning, because I started to become friends with these people that I used to watch on TV, and that, that I like when Anthony Kiedis and I first started talking, I was a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan my whole life growing up. Stuff like that. That was when it was really, people that I was huge fans of,
How do you comprehend that? Like, do they see you? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this correctly, but you're essentially a peer at this point. So does the celebrity go out the window in that moment and it's just person to person and we forget we're famous?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's, once you start to become friends with somebody who thinks of themselves as a huge celebrity, I probably wouldn't hang out with anyway. You know what I mean? Because when you become a celebrity, you're just a normal person. You just listen. I get up and come to work with my people every day. We do the same shit every day. We're all together every day. You don't think of yourself as a celebrity, and if you do, you're probably an asshole. And I probably wouldn't hang out with you anyway. You're not the kind of guy I want to fucking go to dinner with.
That's such a Dana White answer. I want to talk to you about Ngannou because you just announced his next fight and the influence that him and Usman have now brought. I was talking to Kamaru about this. You now have Africa is creating a feeding ground of athletes for you, international. Is it crazy to see the international presence that's been built and to see guys like Ngannou and Usman just take the reins of your sport?
Yeah, no, we always believed that this thing would be big globally, that we could create talent from all over the world. But you know what makes sense? Africa is finally, catching up and coming in. I'm going to build a PI over there. Anytime you find a place where people grow up in hard times, you're going to find talented, incredible, not just fighters, but athletes of all kinds. The question is, what resources do they have to train, to learn, and things like that? I'm going to build a PI over there. And let me tell you what, you're going to see some bad dudes coming out of Africa over the next 5-6 years.
What do you think about the MMA movies? I'm curious to hear your feedback. We had Frank Grillo on here, who's a fucking great athlete and loves MMA. I loved Warrior personally. He had his show Kingdom, which he obviously loved. And that was just watching Fighter with Channing Tatum. You hated Warrior. First of all, what did you hate about Warrior? But what do you think about these MMA movies? Do some of them get it right?
That's hilarious. Yes. So the story with Grillo is, they brought Warrior to me, and they gave me a viewing at a movie theater by myself. It was just me, and I don't know who else was in there, like a handful of people. And we started watching the movie, and I hated it. Hated the movie. I hated everything about it. And I think part of the problem is I'm too close to the fight game. And so what happens is they start doing the Kingdom, right? And we're doing an episode. So I saw a few episodes of Kingdom and I loved it. I thought it was really well done and I was totally into it. I actually watched the whole season. So Frank Grillo finds out that I'm coming to the set of Kingdom. And he's like, oh my God, who fucking did this? You don't want this fucking guy showing up over here. If this guy hates it, he's going to fucking crush this day, whatever. And he was way off base. I loved it. And I ended up meeting all those guys, the cast and everything else. We went out to dinner that night. And not only did I love Kingdom, I actually was trying to get the rights to it to put it on UFC Fight Pass. So if you look at some of these fight movies, if it ain't Rocky, and I'm not talking about, I never got into the new Rockies that he just came out with, the Creeds. But all the other Rockies are very well done. I'm a big Rocky 3 guy. I love Rocky 3. But all these other fight movies are horrible. I don't like them. I try to watch them. I last about fucking 3 minutes into them and I'm like, this is ridiculous, and I turn them off. But the Kingdom, very well done. If you like MMA and you like fight movies and you've never seen the Kingdom that aired on DirecTV, find it and check it out. You will love it.
That's amazing because people don't understand when you're a master at your craft and then you see people not really being able to depict that would just drive me batshit crazy too.
Yeah, it does. That stuff's literally unwatchable to me. I literally can't even watch it. I'm trying to think if there was a fight movie recently that I even remotely liked, and I don't think there is. Yeah, they're all horrible.
Are you a fan of other sports, or are you an NBA fan, baseball? Like what are the sports that Dana White watches outside of your own?
Huge NBA fan. I love the Celtics. I'm a huge Patriots fan, and I'm a moderate Red Sox fan. I don't get to a lot of baseball games, but I really do love going to the Celtics NBA games. The NBA is one of those things. NBA is horrible to watch on TV. You might as well just tune in for the fourth quarter, right? But when you go to an NBA game live, it's awesome. Different energy, exciting. And then the NFL, I love the NFL on TV. It's great on TV.
Sucks in real life.
NFL's not as fun when you go there live. It's not the same kind of experience.
Actually, since you brought up the Celtics, you got me thinking about Paul Pierce, who recently just got kicked out of ESPN because he had that viral, insane video with the strippers. But he just announced that he's going to be doing some stuff with crypto. And then some NFL players, Russell Okung is one of them, is getting paid in crypto and Bitcoin. Are your fighters already coming to you and saying, Dana, we want to talk about potentially payment in Bitcoin or stuff like that? Like, is there
literally nobody?
Nobody?
Literally nobody.
Is that something you would entertain? Are you thinking like, that's a wave of the future? I don't know enough about it, but is that something that's been brought to your forefront?
We're working on a deal right now with a crypto company. I don't know. You know, I haven't really dove into the whole crypto thing yet. Yeah, I don't know. I like cash.
Well, the other thing I want to ask you about, liquor. You just partnered with Howler Head. It's a banana-infused Kentucky bourbon whiskey. What is it about? Like, we're seeing Ryan Reynolds. Obviously, Conor just made $1 gajillion. What is it about, first of all, you getting into business with this company, but what is it about celebrities getting in with liquor? And why is everyone making so much money off this?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I got involved with it because it's fun. I think it's fun. Two things that I've always wanted to be involved in other than this was liquor and a casino. And I obviously, just like everybody else, started drinking a little bit more during the pandemic. And I got into Howler Head, fell in love with it, literally had bartenders at my house at pool parties, you know, mixing drinks and things like that. I totally became obsessed with this brand. So that's why I got involved. And it's been a blast. So now when we go to events, like we're going to Arizona on June 12th, and we'll have a whole Howler Head set up out there too. So I'll go to bars, and, you know, these guys are serving it at like Twin Peaks and Hooters and Buffalo Wild Wings and places like that. So, you know, we're in business with them already through the UFC. So we're doing a lot of fun stuff with these guys.
What kind of impact business-wise does that make? When you're able to throw the weight of the UFC behind a brand like that, how does that impact business?
Definitely doesn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt. It's, you know, and there's so many different synergies between the fights, the alcohol, you know, and the consumers. When you get together with your friends on Saturday night, you're either going to a bar, you're going to the event live, or you're having a party at your house. And there's one common denominator in all three of those places: alcohol. You're drinking. You're getting some food and you're drinking.
I had George St. Pierre on the show recently, and he's now in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So many of your athletes are building these brands outside of the sport. Is that something that you encourage? Is that something you kind of sit down and talk to them and say, think about life after the UFC? Or is it something they do mostly on their own?
Yeah. So, you know, for years, we've had these athlete summits, you know, where we bring the athletes into Vegas, you know, for a few days. We walk them through all these different things like pay your taxes, you know, here's a tax guy. We taught all these kids how to be on social media and what to do, life after fighting, all that kind of stuff. So obviously when I see the guys who are super successful outside the octagon too, and then after their career, not only am I, you know, thrilled and happy about it, but I'm proud of them.
Is it more of a movement? Do they come to you quickly when they know they're being successful? And are they like, Dana, how can you help me out? How do you break me into Hollywood or whatever?
Some people do. Some people come and ask me for help. And some of these other guys have their own teams and do it themselves.
Where is one place that you haven't brought the UFC to that you're dying to just introduce?
Africa.
So that's the landing ground. That's the next one.
We're shooting for 22.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you, sitting here today, in all honesty, did you envision all this 20 years ago? Did you have any inkling that it would become this?
I thought that it would be big. You just don't have the idea of how big, how big it could really be and how many different things it could really touch. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
How about 10 years from now? Tell me the blueprint. Where is the UFC and where's Dana White 10 years from now?
Yeah, so 10 years from now, we're working on stuff right now. Like I'm flying to Abu Dhabi here this summer and working on finishing building out the infrastructure of Fight Island. Not only is Fight Island not going away, Fight Island is going to be even bigger. Fight Island's going to be so badass. It's going to be this destination in Abu Dhabi for fight fans. I can't wait to this summer. I'm going to announce it and walk everybody through what's going to happen there. So I'm super excited about that. Africa, the other thing that will get going again once this pandemic is behind us. I was working on opening a couple of performance institutes in Mexico. Then we got into a beef with the landowner and it all fell apart. Thank God. Right before the pandemic started, the whole deal fell apart. And so I got to get back into Mexico, work on finding some property again and building out those. I want to build one in Puerto Rico. So 2 in Mexico, Puerto Rico, Africa for the PIs, and God knows where else. That's just what I'm focused on right now. And we're going to continue to take this thing into, territories that we haven't been before, continue to cultivate talent from all over the world.
Before I let you go, Dana, one of the reasons that I started this show was to talk to successful people like you about how they're able to achieve their success and continue to elevate. How do you continue to elevate in your life?
First and foremost, I love to win. Whether and it doesn't mean overall win, it's tons of little wins and big wins. Like when we go into Glendale, right? We're selling tickets. We're going to Glendale, Arizona. I want to break that arena record. We just broke the record in Jacksonville. We broke the record in Houston, which was already ours. And now we're going into Glendale and we break the record there. All these little things, everything that we do, I want to win. I want to be the best. I want to be number one. I want to do this. And that's the type of stuff that motivates me every day. Just coming in and it, as twisted as this sounds, it's what I liked about the pandemic. The pandemic was a whole new set of challenges. Like we come in here every day. Like Lene, our head of PR, she's been here for years. Okay, she's been here forever. She does the same fucking shit every week. Okay, we got a fight coming up on Saturday, so we promote the fight. And then we have Sunday off. And then Monday, we're promoting the fight. It's the same shit. It's like Groundhog Day. So when the pandemic hit, holy shit, this is a whole different set of challenges. This is a whole new, can we overcome this? We got fucking the New York Times, fucking CNN, politicians. I mean, everybody's just fucking gunning at us every day. But we're going to fucking do this. We're going to figure out how to pull this thing off. That's the kind of shit that gets me up in the morning and fires me up, Listen, I got a big fucking fat house over in Summerlin. I could have laid around in the pool drinking fucking Howler Head all day, every day, and took 8 months off and laid off 30% of my staff and cut my executives' pay in half and done all this goofy shit. Why? Well, first of all, I would never do that to my people, number one. And number two, fuck that. Let's get up and win. Let's get up and beat this thing. Let's get out and be first. Let's show the world how to pull this off. Let's show people how to get back to work. Let's show these guys how to get professional sports back. That's the type of shit I love. Listen, when all that's gone, when I'm fucking depleted and I'm done and I don't have an ounce of life left in me, then I don't know. Then I'll lay around the pool and drink fucking Howler Head all day.
By the way, enormous shout out to Lene. I reached out to her yesterday, got right back and set up this interview today and was instantaneous. And you and I know both in the communications world, especially with someone of your prestige, that's not going to be the case. And I thought that was awesome.
She's a beast.
That was, I don't know if she's there, but I'll pass this on to her. We appreciate it so much. And I was like, man, if everybody was this easy to deal with, my job and our job on the booking side would be so much easier.
I'm telling you, my whole staff over here, over the last 20 years, we've built the baddest team in all of sports. Everybody here is the best. Lene is the best. All of my team, all of them here, they're incredible, man. Through this pandemic, fucking laying anybody off, man. I'm not laying. These people have been grinding with me for years, you know, and it just never felt right, and it wasn't the answer. I know I keep beating this thing over the head, but anyway.
No, dude, here's what I want to say before I let you go. You're a controversial figure in sports. I have such an immense respect, A, for what you've built, B, the way that you are in a world where we have to be prepackaged because God forbid you say the wrong thing, your career is over. And C, what you've been saying. I think it's smart and really awesome. You actually are beating people over the head with that because it just shows your commitment to the people who help build what you've built. And I have an enormous respect for everything you've done, man. I'm so happy we were able to have you on the show. I think you're freaking
Thanks, buddy.
awesome.
I appreciate it. You're a great interviewer. You ought to give fucking classes to the MMA community on how to give interviews.
I love that, dude. That's amazing. That literally, you just made my week going into the holidays.
It's true. You're great. This is a great podcast.
Thank you so much, Dana. You're welcome back anytime. Congrats. And the Ultimate Fighter is back. You've got this wonderful bourbon whiskey out. Congrats on everything, man. Thanks for a fabulous interview, dude.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day.